Yes, this is a Parley Pro mini lesson, and it is being held in the ag barn today. So I came home on my lunch to check on the sheep, and I know that I'm not going to have enough alone time when I get back to school to record my Parley Pro mini lesson for today. So I did get instructed by my own Parley Pro team member that I shouldn't continue to record these videos because other competing chapters that we will be going against, their members are watching them. However, I did tell her that those chapters don't have one critical thing, and that's me as an advisor. So although they may be our competitors, it's still important that people understand Robert's Rules of Order. So I will continue with these even though they told me that I should not. Let's talk about subsidiary motions. We talked about the classes of motions, and subsidiary motions aid in handling or disposing of the main motion. And if you don't have a main motion, you can't do those subsidiary motions in the contest. And there was an example this weekend. If you know, you know. Let's say you have amend as an assigned motion in that contest. If you pass or fail the main motion, you may not go back and then do amend. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to use amend as our example here. So amend needs a second. We already talked, I believe, about why things need a second and why a lot of our subsidiary motions require that. Now, amend is debatable and it's amendable. When you have your 60 seconds after you get your motion card, whether it's conduct or Parley, you sort of want to develop a game plan of what your extra motions may be if you're a Parley Pro member and what you're going to debate on, regardless of which team you are on. So with Parley Pro, I believe you need to have 4 debates. Now, we looked at the score sheet this past Saturday, and it only allotted for 3 debates for scoring for Parley Pro. So I did also look up in the National Handbook, so if anybody has some insight on that, I'm not really sure why it's only out of 60 points. And I know that with conduct, only the top 3 are actually scored. If your kids are doing this contest right, they shouldn't have time for 4 debates on the conduct of chapter meeting team. With your debatable subsidiary motions, you need to develop a game plan. With conduct, you don't have the option for an extra motion, so you need to look at the assigned motions and figure out what you're going to debate on so that you have a solid plan in place. Now, obviously, there are unpredictable things. If a member steals your idea for debate, obviously that's a little bit out of your control. You don't want to be repetitive, and I can't remember what the breakdown is, if it's worth it to lose an extra or lose that discussion, like the discussion points, or to repeat things, because obviously if you're repeating something somebody else has already said, it's going to be a poorer quality discussion anyway. And yes, amend is amendable. You can amend an amendment. I typically don't have my competing teams do those things just because I like to keep it simple when they are carrying out these items of business in an actual meeting so that the judges can follow along, especially if the judges are not as familiar with that contest. It does commonly happen where you have judges that may not be as familiar with the contest. So they are just trying to follow along and figure out what the kids are doing and if they're following those rules. Vote needed is majority, which is 1 more than half. It's 51%. Come on, honey. She's in rough shape. Come on, sweetheart. Up. Come on. Stand yourself. You need to get water, sweetie. I'm going to get you over to the water in a second. So vote on amend requires a majority vote, and I will talk in further detail with the 2/3 vote and why some motions require 2/3 vote. But it is majority vote, just like you take a vote in class, you know, whichever one has the most votes wins. That's AKA majority vote. One thing I did find interesting, so we had that Albany trip. Yesterday, we went on a tour of the capital of New York State, and the Senate, I believe it was the Senate. Yes, the Senate votes via voice vote, AKA viva voce. So when I heard the tour guides make that comment, I got really excited about that. But the way that the Senate floor is designed acoustically, you can't have private conversations there. So the history of the Capitol was pretty cool, totally off topic. And I thought that was really neat that the Senate has viva voce, they vote via voice. And also, if you are in either one of those contests, you do need to know that term because that can be a written or oral question that you may receive. But anyway, this concludes mini Parley Pro lesson with Metrowski in the sheep barn for today. So, hope you learned something.